A note from Excalibur_XCN, just to be clear, Tony is going manual, without relying on his AI too much. Red Room's Widow's training base. Tony soared through the night sky, the nanite armor molding seamlessly around his body. His HUD displayed a real-time map of the Red Room's training base. The power grids, security networks, personnel movements, and every last digital vulnerability he had cracked open like an egg were being displayed before his eyes. That he wasn't just going to burn them down, that he was going to erase them. Hermes, status update. All security measures are under your control. Turrets, surveillance, automated drones, everything is now running on a falsified loop. As far as they're concerned, tonight is just another night. Tony smirked. Perfect. Hovering high above the base, he engaged his suit's cloaking function. The armor shimmered briefly before rendering him invisible to the naked eye in infrared scans. He wasn't about to storm in guns blazing. No, this was going to be surgical. Hermes, begin Phase 1. Executing, sir. The first sign that something was wrong came when the automated sentries along the perimeter began dropping offline one by one. Not disabled, just reporting normal functionality while being completely blind. Guards patrolling the walls had no idea their overwatch had gone dark. Then, the base's internal security grid started feeding falsified data to the command. Doors that were locked showed as open, and guards were reported in places they weren't, a complete digital illusion. Tony descended, landing silently on the rooftop of one of the command buildings. He knelt down, his armor shifting and adapting, integrating into the shadows of the night. Bring up scans. Mark the widows and the other trainees with priority tags. I want to know where everyone is and what they're doing at all times. No surprises tonight. We go in fast and hard, kill those bastards, and rescue the widows and those unlucky girls. So, I want accurate results, he said. With the security under his control, his AI began analyzing the base's personnel movement and feeding it to him through his HUD. Hermes was able to locate the Red Room's personnel with ease, marking them with a green tag on his HUD and the female trainees with orange tags. There are 113 widows in training currently in the Red Room underground level. And 450 Red Room operatives, the AI reported. Well, none of the agents were leaving here alive. Hermes, execute Phase 2. Affirmative, sir. The carnage began in silence. Every turret lining the corridors turned on its owners. Suppressed gunfire echoed through the steel halls as rounds tore through agents before they even had time to scream. Hallways were sealed shut, trapping squads in isolated kill boxes where poison gas seeped in through the vents. Colorless. Odorless. By the time they realized what was happening, they were already choking on their own blood. Drones, reprogrammed and weaponized, descended from the rafters like mechanical predators, slicing through panicked agents with pinpoint accuracy. Some tried to fight back. That IT didn't matter. The security systems Tony had rewritten turned every safeguard against them. Electrified floors frying agents alive. Reinforced doors slamming shut with enough force to crush bones, and automated turrets unloading. Pinpoint kill shots. That IT was merciless. Efficient. Over in 5 minutes, the HUD counters in his helmet ticked down with every confirmed kill. 450 agents. All dead. Tony stood amidst the carnage, exhaling slowly. It was too easy. Then came the hard part, the widows, underground level. Tony stepped through the ruined security doors. The underground level was massive, stretching out into the distance like a twisted military academy. Rows of young women in identical combat uniforms stood at attention, their faces blank, their postures eerily perfect, and at the front of the room, 2 figures stood apart from the rest. One was an older woman with sharp, angular features, dressed in a white, high-ranking officer's uniform. The headmistress. A woman who had shaped generations of widows with brutal efficiency. The other? Ludmila Antonovna Kudrin. A name Tony had dug up while tearing through the Red Room's files. She was the mind behind the program's Super Soldier Serum variant, an enhancement that made the perfect widows stronger, faster, and deadlier. If Dreykov had been the mastermind, she was the executioner, both women turned to face him as he entered. Tony smirked beneath his helmet, already activating the nanite swarm. Invisible to the naked eye, the microscopic machine streamed from his armor, dispersing through the room and entering the widows' bodies without them even noticing. Through the air, integrating with their nervous systems. One command, and they'd all drop. But first, he had a show to put on. The headmistress stepped forward, her eyes narrowing. "Who are you?" Her voice was steady and cold, but beneath it, Tony could sense the edge of unease. "You can call me Iron Man," Tony said casually, rolling his shoulders. "And before you ask how I found this place, let's just say your firewalls need an update." Her gaze flickered to his suit, analyzing it. "This technology. I've never seen anything like it." Tony smirked. "Yeah, you're about to see what it can do." Before she could respond, his repulsor flared and a focused laser beam sliced through the air. Zing. Arg. A scream tore through the chamber as the headmistress collapsed, her legs severed clean from the knees down. Blood pooled beneath her, and the cold, composed mask she had worn shattered into raw agony. "Attack!" she shrieked, her voice cracking with rage. Well, she passed out in pain. The widows moved instantly. Like a single organism, perfectly trained, perfectly conditioned, guns raised, blades unsheathed, bodies launched toward him with terrifying speed. But Tony was faster. The nanites activated. In the blink of an eye, every widow froze mid-motion. Their bodies seized, their limbs locked up, their weapons falling from their hands. And then, as if struck by an unseen force, they all collapsed into a perfect, synchronized coma. Silence. The only sound in the room was the headmistress's ragged breathing as she clutched at the stumps where her legs used to be. The laser burnt her flesh, so there was minimum blood loss, but the pain. Well, it was just the beginning. Ludmilla, to her credit, hadn't moved a muscle. She simply studied Tony, her expression unreadable. He walked toward her. "So, Ludmilla, I have to ask, how's it feel knowing your perfect little program is about to burn?" Her lips curled into a thin smile. "You have no idea what you've just started." Tony smirked. "Do you?" He grabbed her throat and pulled her off the ground, her feet dangling beneath her. "I have to say, it must be nice to live in such a delusional world where you think you're safe, protected by these girls who'd gladly die for you. But let me tell you something. You're not. None of you are." As much as he wanted to kill her, she still had the formula of the SSS. If he can get his hands on it, then he should be able to perfect it and replicate it. Tony threw her on the floor and her body crashed against the ground. She was in so much pain that she didn't even try to fight back. Instead, she crawled to the nearest wall and leaned her back against it while she glared at him. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice low and laced with anger. "I want the formula for the super soldier serum you've developed." Tony crouched before her. "Or should I start pulling out your nails one by one? You will scream and beg in pain. I will simply stuff your mouth with a sock to muffle it. Then I will chop your fingers, sprinkle salt to make it more painful, and you will still scream. But it'll be muffled, and no one will hear you. Do you know if you cut off a human's big toe, they won't be able to maintain their body's balance? In short, you won't be able to walk. But you can crawl, so I'll have to cut your tendons and break your knees just to keep you immobilized. You will kill me even if I give it to you," she said, glaring at him. "Yeah, I'll kill you either way. But do you really want to die screaming in pain as I break your body little by little? Or—" Tony's eyes went toward the medical labs lined up at the far end of the facility. "Die even more painfully as I inject every single serum in that place into your bloodstream one after another? Now, how many times have you tested them on a human? Hundreds? Thousands? Maybe more? The first couple will be painless, but then you'll start feeling your muscles tearing and your organs rupturing. Blood vessels breaking and lungs shredding as you fall to the floor and struggle in pain, gasping for breath. But my nanites will repair your body over and over again. You will want to die, but you won't be able to. Imagine it, your body burning in agony and healing at the same time, there is no such thing as that. You are bluffing. Do you want to try? So. What's it gonna be? She opened her mouth and began reciting the formula. Her words were laced with hatred and anger. Tony punched her, smashing her nose in anger. Blood sprayed from her broken nose, staining her uniform. You bitch. You think I am stupid? Well. Doesn't matter. I will extract the formula out of their blood. He grabbed her hair and dragged her through the halls, then he stopped. As much as he wanted to put all those serums into her body, he thought it was only fair for the widows to take their revenge with their own hands. Tony made a video call to Natasha. She picked up the call on the second ring. Natasha's eyes widened as Tony focused on Ludmila's face and then on the headmistress' face. Then he showed her the unconscious widows. You. Are they? She stuttered. She couldn't believe the scene before her. They are alive. And these two? I'm pretty sure you'd like to take your time with them, Tony said, turning back the camera to face him. The girls? How many are there? There are 113 of them. They are still alive. Natasha sighed in relief. Tony. No time. Do you have a way to persuade them or maybe extract them somewhere safe for a while? I can't leave them alone in their condition. They are completely brainwashed. Yes, I think I can. Okay, I'll wake them up. However, before he could do that, a massive kick on his back sent him crashing through the walls, breaking through several layers of concrete. What the fuck? Another kick sent him crashing through another wall. This time, he broke through several reinforced steel girders, cutting his back and chest. Sir. It appears to be Tony grunted as he got back up. Yeah, I know. Tony, you alright? Natasha's voice came over the comms. What happened? A fucking bear? If not for Tony's upgraded armor, his body would have turned into meat splatter. His systems screamed warnings as he picked himself up from the rubble, nanites already working to repair the microfractures in his suit. He groaned, flexing his fingers as his HUD recalibrated from the impact. He had been hit by a damn truck. No, not a truck. A bear. Standing before him was a 7 feet 5 inches monstrosity of muscle and fur, its massive paws curled into fists the size of cinder blocks. A humanoid brown bear, breathing heavily, and he looked angry. Ursa Major. Tony's mind raced as he processed the scene. Wait. I know this guy. He had read about him in the comics in his past life. A Russian mutant with the ability to transform into a massive bear while retaining his intelligence and combat skills. His strength in this form put him on par with mid-tier powerhouses, capable of lifting 15 tons and tanking damage that would flatten normal humans. His lips curled into a smirk under the helmet. They really brought a bear to a high-tech fight? Cute. Ursa Major cracked his knuckles. You are strong, he rumbled in Russian, his voice like gravel being crushed under steel. But not strong enough. Tony barely had time to react before the massive bear lunged at him, moving deceptively fast for something his size. 45 miles per hour, that was the speed of a charging brown bear, and right now, Tony was experiencing firsthand why that was terrifying. The beast closed the distance in a second, swiping a paw at Tony with enough force to send a jeep flipping end over end. Tony barely managed to dodge, thrusters firing at the last moment to push him aside. But not fast enough. The edge of Ursa's claws scraped against his armor, sending out a shower of sparks as deep gashes formed along the nanite plating. That's a problem. Before he could reposition, Ursa was on him again, his massive frame looming over Tony as he raised both arms and hammered down with a double-fisted strike. Boom. The impact sent shockwaves through the room, the floor beneath Tony cratering as he was slammed into the reinforced steel ground. Sir. Would you like to activate auto battle mode? Hermes asked. Nah. I wanna stretch my muscles a bit and see how far I can go without auto mode, Tony groaned. His HUD flickered for a moment before stabilizing. His enhanced armor had absorbed most of the impact, but that hurt like hell. Damn. The kinetic energy absorber needs some more work and I am already seeing the limits of this stealth-grade suit. Gotta make combat suits. If only I had more vibranium. Oh, well, Ursa Major grinned, showing massive teeth. Not so tough now, are you? Tony coughed, rolling onto his back. Buddy, you have no idea who you're dealing with. Ursa snorted. I do not need to. You will die all the same. The bear leaped into the air, aiming to bring his full 1,500 pounds of muscle down onto Tony. Big mistake. Tony's palm lit up with a sudden pulse of repulsor energy. Boom, the blast caught Ursa mid-air, sending him slamming into the ceiling before gravity took over and he crashed back down, flattening a nearby metal crate. Tony shot back up, dusting himself off. Huh. Big guy, but I expected more out of Russia's finest. Ursa Major roared and charged again. This time, Tony didn't dodge. He caught the bear's fist. A shockwave rippled through the air as metal-clad fingers clamped down on Ursa's paw, stopping the attack dead in its tracks. Ursa's eyes widened. What? Tony twisted, leveraging his enhanced strength, and flipped the bear over his shoulder, slamming him spine first into the steel floor. Crash, the ground dented under the force, cracks spreading outward. Ursa gasped, the wind knocked out of him. Tony didn't let him recover. He jumped up and smashed into Ursa's ribs, followed by a brutal kick to the jaw, sending spit and blood flying as the bear staggered back. His HUD showed Ursa's shattered ribs and jaws. Nice. Before Ursa could even think, Tony grabbed his head and slammed it into the wall, leaving a crater in the reinforced steel. The bear slumped for a moment, dazed. Tony cracked his knuckles. You hit like a drunk panda. Now, my turn. He grabbed Ursa's massive arm, twisting it behind his back. A sickening crack echoed through the room. Arf! Ursa howled in pain as his shoulder dislocated. Tony then planted a boot against the back of the bear's knee and kicked forward, forcing him to collapse onto all fours. With a smirk, Tony placed his boot against Ursa's head and pinned him to the ground. The once proud warrior of Russia was now completely immobilized, his massive frame quivering in pain. Tony sighed dramatically. So much for not strong enough, huh? You talk a big game, but when it comes down to it, you're just a big, hairy punching bag. Ursa growled but couldn't move. Shoo, Tony whispered mockingly. Let me just. A needle extended from his wrist. He jabbed it into Ursa's thick fur, extracting a blood sample. He never expected to come across a mutant. An evil mutant at that. Now with his blood, he should be able to create countermeasures against them. Nullifiers, cures, or boosters. Well, it all depends on who's good or evil. The bear grunted in protest but was in no condition to stop him. Thanks, big guy. You might be useless in a fight, but your mutant DNA? That's valuable. Tony stood up, stepping off the bear's head. Ursa tried to rise, but his arm was useless, his body battered, his pride shattered. Tony shook his head. Pathetic. Ursa Major panted, glaring at him with a mix of fury and humiliation. This isn't over, he snarled. Tony just chuckled, twirling the vial of blood in his fingers. Oh, it really is. Ursa Major's breathing was ragged, his massive chest heaving. Blood dripped from his broken nose, his jaw hung at an odd angle, and his right arm was completely dislocated. Then, crack, a drop of blood mixed with whatever he took fell on the floor. Tony's HUD immediately flared with alerts as he detected a foreign chemical compound being released into Ursa's bloodstream. Sir. His vitals are spiking, adrenaline, endorphins, muscle density. He just crushed something in his mouth. Hermes warned. Tony's eyes widened as his sensors analyzed the substance. Mutant growth hormone. A temporary, high-risk power boost derived from mutant DNA. It overloaded the body, granting immense strength, speed, and endurance at the cost of life itself. Ursa Major had just turned himself into a walking nuclear bomb of raw power. Ah, shit. The bear's eyes rolled back for a second before snapping forward, now glowing a deep crimson. His muscles bulged, veins throbbing like thick cables under his fur. the dislocated arm? It snapped back into place on its own. His shattered jaw realigned, his wounds sealing in mere seconds, then he moved. Wham! Tony barely had time to react before an unbelievable force slammed into him, sending him through 6 reinforced steel walls like a ragdoll. His world became a blur of twisted metal and concrete as he finally skidded to a halt, smashing into a storage room. He groaned. His HUD flickered violently. Suit integrity at 92%. Tony shook his head, clearing the ringing from his ears. Okay, ow. The roar that followed made the ground tremble. Ursa Major tore through the debris, his massive form now even larger, standing at nearly 9 feet tall. His fur crackled with energy, his claws extended into razor-sharp talons that could probably tear through titanium. Tony sighed. Yeah, see, this is why you don't take mystery drugs, buddy. Ursa didn't respond. He wasn't just stronger. He was gone. The MGH had overridden his rational mind, leaving behind nothing but pure, animalistic rage, and it was all directed at Tony. Ursa lunged. Tony barely had time to throw up a hard light shield before the bear's claws shredded through it like paper. A massive swipe sent him flying again, crashing through more reinforced walls. Tony groaned, pushing himself up. Okay. This is getting ridiculous. Sir, at his current output, he's operating at nearly 50 tons of lifting strength. Avoid taking direct hits. Tony spat out some blood. Yeah, I figured that out when he punted me like a football, Hermes. TSK. The laser has 2 more shots, can't waste it. And I can't use stronger explosives down here. Repulsor beam won't work on his thick skin. He tried to lure the bear away from the widows. Ursa charged again. This time, Tony was ready. His nanites shifted, forming impact dampeners across his arms and legs. His thrusters roared as he dashed forward, meeting the behemoth head-on. Ursa swung, Tony ducked. Barely, the sheer force of the swing split the air, sending out a shockwave that shattered nearby windows. Tony capitalized. He countered. A repulsor-charged uppercut slammed into Ursa's gut, sending out a massive kinetic shock. The beast stumbled, but he was already healing from the internal damage. Tony scowled. Okay. Plan B. He vaulted over Ursa, landing behind him. His gauntlet shifted, forming an energy scalpel. One way to beat a healing factor: shut down the nervous system. With a swift, calculated movement, Tony drove the energy blade into the base of Ursa's skull, targeting the brainstem. Spark. The bear seized up, body spasming violently as the electrical surge overloaded his nervous system. Ursa let out a choked roar before collapsing, twitching uncontrollably. Tony exhaled. And, nap time. His HUD ran a scan. Ursa's vitals were critical. His body was literally tearing itself apart from the overdose. 10 minutes. That's all the MGH gave him. Tony sighed, rubbing his helmet. Jesus. He turned, activating his comms. Nat, you still there? What the hell was that roar? Natasha's voice came through, urgent. Long story short. Big angry bear. Took steroids. I won. What? I'll explain later. He stomped on Ursa's head, splattering blood and brains under his heel. Time to wake up the widows. Thanks for watching and subscribe for upcoming videos.